Hey guys, Tower Clem here, and today we are going to be tackling another Tower God versus battle that's been on my mind recently, and that being Po Badao Lyboric Kun versus Ha Jinsung. We have seen how Jinsung was able to perform against a squadron commander in the story in Kallavan, but how would he measure up against a totally different type of opponent in Lyboric? Well, to get into that question without any more preamble, let's get right into it. A battle between these two is more interesting to look at than one would expect. There is obviously no denying the fact that Jinsung has gotten not only more time in the story for us to see him, but also a lot more chances to fight than Lyboric has, with Jinsung having, I would say, 4 main on-screen fights compared to Lyboric's 1. But the good thing is that these are both characters that have fought the same opponent, that being of course Kallavan. And so I think the best way to look at this is by seeing how they both fared against him, but also make sure to not leave out any context for either character, and afterwards I want to get into how each character would tackle a fight against the other. I think the best way to just directly compare them in this way is to see what versions of Kallavan each fought. For Jinsung, he fought a fully healed Kallavan, but also one who holds great respect for Jinsung, with base Kallavan being very comparable to Jinsung and is physically tougher than his Ha body. Although with the Ha family Shinsu reinforcement techniques, Jinsung is able to make his body strong enough to even the playing field against Kallavan's tough skin, plus being far more skilled in martial arts than Kallavan. The part of this discussion that gets kinda bad for Jinsung, and the part I think a lot of people tend to forget, is that once Kallavan brought out the essence of bravery, Jinsung basically became a rag doll and got his arms permanently crippled by Kallavan. Jinsung's only saving grace in this part of the fight was his ultimate technique, the Dragon Tiger Gate, which is something I will definitely be bringing up later, as it is a very important part when discussing Jinsung in a versus battle. Now on Lyboric's side of this discussion, he did fight a weakened Kallavan who got his arm blown off in his fight against White, and was by his own admission tired due to all the fighting he had been doing. But on the flip side to the Jinsung fight, Kallavan actively dislikes Lyboric and is fighting him for the sole reason of crushing him for what he did and taking his title back. Lyboric in this fight was physically strong enough to catch Kallavan's punch and hit him with attacks that were able to stagger Kallavan even with his high defenses we have talked about earlier. I would assume that this impressive level of strength comes from him having the blood of 2 great families flowing through him, and even after Kallavan in his own words goes all out to crush him, Lyboric still manages via his own power to knock out Kallavan until of course Kallavan's Shinsu reacts to Lyboric's and amplifies him to a stage of strength that completely outclasses Lyboric. But the overall point that I am trying to make with all of this is that yes, these fights are of course different, as the versions of Kallavan they did fight are very different in condition, but personally I feel like they even out due to Kallavan's mindset against Lyboric, which is very antagonistic, versus Jinsung, who I have said before he has a great deal of respect for. Now how these fighters would interact versus each other is interesting, as due to the evidence we have, I would say that Lyboric is physically stronger than Jinsung and would be definitely able to damage him if he was able to damage Kallavan, who is defense-wise better than Jinsung. And also just to make the point clear, because I'm sure I'm going to be hearing it in the comments if I don't address it now, I am not only using that punch from Lyboric in the beginning of the fight to come to this conclusion. The whole battle, even after Kallavan was going all out, had Lyboric use his spears to throw Kallavan back physically. Something we see with Jinsung versus Mashini wouldn't happen if Lyboric didn't have the strength to do it. It is tough to say how Jinsung would handle this fight overall, but we have seen that Jinsung is able to be very adaptive in many different situations. So I don't think he will come into this battle with the mindset of brawling with Lyboric off the bat, as he will be able to tell that he is a spear bearer, so I think he will try to do a lot of flow control in this battle, which is something that we have seen him do against other spear bearers like Dumas, using the flow Shinsu to redirect his spears, as he could most likely tell that those spears could fling him back if he got hit by them. Something that of course would just be playing into Lyboric's hand, as at the end of the day, Jinsung is a physical fighter and distance in this fight is crucial. I don't see Lyboric being too surprised by this tactic that is employed by Jinsung, as remember, while Jinsung is very ancient, Lyboric is as well, being part of Jihad's army all the way back in the age of Genesis. Another issue I think Lyboric may turn into a strength in this fight is that he can't actually make a lightning spear, so what he does is inject physical spears with lightning, meaning he could technically run out of ammo in this fight. But again, I think Lyboric would try to use this like how he did versus Kallavan and set up for his big move with his second Shinsu quality, Water Vapor, to amp his electricity to an insane degree. And I'm just gonna say this right off the bat, if Lyboric is able to pull this attack off, he just wins the fight. Because to put it in a perspective for you, this attack knocked out a Kallavan using the Essence of Bravery, which is very important because that means that Kallavan that Lyboric knocked out for a moment was more durable than his base state, which we have already established is more durable than Jinsung's body. So if Jinsung gets caught in this attack, he will be in serious trouble, and in a best case scenario, he's merely knocked out. But no matter what, I would say that he definitely couldn't keep fighting if he got hit by this attack. So this is Lyboric's main win condition, as while I do consider Jinsung defensively weaker, that doesn't mean I think he will be taken out by any of the other strikes that Lyboric is able to use with his spears. But I think if he did get hit by them, he would be pushed back, kinda like how Holin was able to push Jinsung back a fair distance away. In turn, Jinsung's big win condition is to unleash the Dragon Tiger Gate on Lyboric. This attack in turn would definitely be able to kill Lyboric if it landed, as it was able to put a donut in Kallavan with the Essence of Bravery and also somebody like Dumas. The reason this skill is so broken is not only that it's a piercing technique and so would do internal damage to you, but also this move creates a weak point in Jinsung's opponents by disrupting the flow of Shinsu. So basically Jinsung is amplifying himself and weakening his foe at the exact same time, leading to a super deadly attack. Now how I think Jinsung could land this attack, as of course he does need to be in close range to his target to perform this, and I can really think of two options. One is that Jinsung uses reverse flow control, as he is able to use the skill at a long distance, as we saw when he used it on Kallavan and Mesheni. So he should be able to use it on Lyboric as well and use that time he is frozen to get close to him. And the second option is to use his Shinsu reinforcement skill, Sky Piercer, to rocket himself to a close range battle with Lyboric, which even if Lyboric has a physical advantage over Jinsung, I believe that Jinsung would be able to counteract him with his martial arts skill, as the biggest issue against Kallavan was that his explosion Shinsu was too relenting for Jinsung to even try to fight back. But Lyboric would be just throwing admittedly strong punches, but in the end of the day they're just pure fists with nothing else, so I think Jinsung could use his martial arts move just like how Hansung did against Lopobia Mayor. And if Jinsung could get close to him and make sure not to be blasted back by a spear, then I could see him landing a Dragon Tiger Gate. But this second option has way more room for error than the first one I mentioned before. So if you want my verdict, overall I think this is a very close match, with Lyboric being physically stronger than Jinsung and could keep him away with his spears. But overall I do think the lack of battles we have seen from Lyboric hurts him, as I can think of more ways for Jinsung to employ his win condition, more so than I can Lyboric to Jinsung. So if I were rating on how close this battle is, I would say it's a 6 out of 10 high difficulty for Jinsung to win, as I do believe if he slips up at any point in his strategies and lets Lyboric keep his distance, then he will just get baited to the same trap as Kallavan and lose, as Jinsung doesn't really have any way to revive himself after getting hit by an attack like that, unlike Kallavan. But what do you guys think about this battle? Is there any perspective you thought I missed or didn't really talk about? I would love to hear it in the comments, and remember, I'm always going to be here to give you guys the truth, and if the truth is not always explained, I'm always going to give you guys my opinion on the truth. Have a wonderful day, guys. Bye.